If some politicians think it's too risky to support gay marriage now, imagine the moral backbone it took 15 years ago. But David Paterson did stand up for marriage equality back then as a New York State senator. And now, as governor, he's leading the charge to legalize gay marriage in New York. Governor Paterson says his longtime commitment to gay civil rights has deep roots in his experience as a blind African American and childhood memories of gay family friends he called uncles. He talks tonight with Yale professor and LGBT chronicler George Chauncey.
Welcome, Governor Paterson. It's good to talk with you again.
Thank you very much.
This last spring, you electrified the supporters of gay marriage equality when you directed state agencies in New York to treat the marriages of people, same-sex couples who got married in California, Massachusetts, Canada, and other jurisdictions with full respect and full equality. This was an unprecedented move and a really courageous decision, which was acclaimed by many people and denounced by many others. So I would love to have a chance to talk with you about what some of the sources are of your support for gay equality, and then to move on to the question of gay marriage in particular.
Well, I would like to think that even if I were not a supporter of marriage equality, that I would have given full faith and credit to the legislation of other states where New York does not have any statute prohibiting that. I don't think there could have been any other way that a public official could have acted as governor than the way I acted, unless they chose to unilaterally ignore the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New York. Now, I guess a lot of people do that, but I'm not one who's going to.
I wonder if you could talk some about what the background is to your long-term support for gay rights.
When I was pretty young, I learned that I had a disability and would be discriminated against it, oddly enough, by other African Americans. Even the president of our local NAACP chapter wouldn't have let me have a job when I was a teenager, working in a catering service where he had a lot of my friends working, because no one asked me if I could pack lunches for children. Similarly, I was once in a conversation in a room full of blind people who didn't realize that I was African American, and I heard some of the most racist remarks I've ever heard in my life. So I think I learned early on that there's a universality to the inability to understand other people, how they live their lives, what they look like, where they originate. And I think as far back as I can remember, I was someone who, because I was isolated in many situations, wanted to speak for those who were also isolated but might not have a voice. My parents knew I guess what was a gay couple, and we knew them as uncles, and we even stayed over their apartment building that I now live in, even when my parents were on vacation. So I guess I had a comfort zone with gay and lesbian people from an early age. And I think it's tragic that at this time in our history, we have 23 world conflicts, civil wars in many countries, that we actually have to spend that much time trying to figure out how to leave everybody alone. We're having a tremendous economic crisis in this country. And I think pretty soon, people are going to have to borrow money from their neighbors to get gasoline to drive their cars. And I don't think they'll care whether their neighbors are living with men with other men or women with other women, or a man and a woman. It's just an affection that, in my opinion, is as pure as it is perfect.
So why do you think so many people are upset by the idea of gay marriage? I mean, you just made a really eloquent case for why people shouldn't worry about this and take it as a matter of course. And it obviously has become such a contentious issue.
I think people need to separate their fears and their anxieties from their conduct. Now, I remember the first time I saw two men kiss. I was standing there. I thought I was going to have a stroke. It was just something I'd never seen before. Mm-hmm. And it made me feel uncomfortable. And I think that I understand that people have these anxieties, and I think that although I'm now a lot more comfortable, things happen in my life even today that I'm unaccustomed to, unaware, have no reference for, and I probably react the same way as we all do. A little chagrined at first. We don't really know how to take it. Our instant responses are often somewhat negative. But then it comes to your conduct. Here's where you have conscience, the ability to think about things before you act. And why, if anyone thinks some of the absurd views that, for instance, that the gay and lesbian lifestyle affects children. Well, there were times when there was very little evidence of gay or lesbian lifestyles in our society. Didn't seem to, how did the children become gay? Because they were born that way. It's really very simple. Now, a group of ministers came to see me recently, very upset that I would be in favor of marriage equality, and said they thought we should just have civil union. I said, when we were fighting for civil union, I never saw any of you come in here to support it. And they said something like, well, they're going to do it anyway, so you can't stop them. So then let's not stop them from getting married.
I wonder what's your sense of how the place of gay people has changed in African American society in the last several decades?
There seemed to be among black people a little resentment that I would see it as similar as a civil rights issue. But I don't think that's coming from reason. That, I think, comes from a feeling that gay and lesbian people will be able to incorporate themselves into society a lot better than African Americans would, even though they would get these rights much later. So I think that what that was not necessarily an anger toward gay and lesbian people per se, as much as it was an admonishment and vilification of a society that has begun to give women, to give people of different national origins and gay and lesbian citizens a greater opportunity in our society, but still struggles with the racial issues that were there from our founding Declaration of Independence and Constitution. Just because the society is still discriminating is no reason for us to line up as if there's some seniority that exists among those who are obtaining rights. We all should have had them from the very outset of this country and should be fighting for them every step of the way.
Many of Dr. King's closest associates, his widow, Coretta Scott King, John Lewis, Julian Bond, Jesse Jackson, have been very powerful and eloquent supporters of gay civil rights and have argued that, in their own vision, it is a logical next step in the struggle for human rights, that it comes out of the struggle that they were so important in initiating.
I'd like to believe that Dr. King, as soon as he became aware, would have spoken for gay and lesbian citizens in this country, and again would have gone away what would have been predictable in favor of the higher value and the higher calling. And the fact that he wasn't here in the 70s and 80s to have been such an historic figure as he was probably caused us to have to work it out ourselves and obviously take longer.
It's an honor to talk with you, and I'm a great admirer of the courage you've displayed on this issue and many other issues. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.